Okay. Commissioner Curran, I believe, is not going to be joining us today. Commissioner Floyd,
Here.
Commissioner Japon Porter, Commissioner Melinas,
Here.
Commissioner Doherty,
Here.
Chair Raval.
Here.
Okay.
So what I'd like all the commissioners to take a look at, you see this is a very short agenda. And what I said was when we first started redoing these, is that if you don't have something that is going to be ongoing you want to know about, I'm not going to schedule ongoing meetings because you all are busy. So you should be aware of that. If they're not something you need to know about, we're not going to have meetings, but we'll discuss that more on Thursday when we all get together. So take it away.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, the staffing update, I wanted to give a little bit of a staffing update. I mean, first of all, I think it's a good one to raise because it's always hard. I'm sure for the executive team, you can feel free to comment, executive team, but it's hard to have a new person come in and just kind of take the reins. I've been in for almost exactly, well, it's exactly 3 months today. And so, I'll just offer my perspective, just on a staffing update on how folks are functioning. I've been really pleased with how everyone has, I came in mid-session, mid a personnel issue at the executive level. And, I think, Rosie and Colin and Nathan are all on this call, and they're all part of the executive team. And then Laura and Adam support us. And I've just been really pleased with how we've been able to keep moving. Specifically, I dropped in during the legislature. So not only am I dealing with the personnel issues at home, but the timing of it was actually Nathan and Colin were actually going to present the agency budget. I think Nathan, wasn't it the day I got here or the next couple days?
Yeah.
And so we were able to kind of reset and get things going. And so the staffing update as far as the executive team is, I'm just really appreciative of how Adam and Laura have supported us. And then I'll let Colin, Nathan, and Rosie speak into the staffing. The staffing update as far as what we're doing on recruitments, I think is also key. So the first staffing that we put out, so let me back up. I'm pretty committed to doing competitive recruitments for everything right now. I think that's a really important piece of transparency and openness when you have the issues that we're coming out of. So I've been working with Ms. Gomez to try to prioritize what we're going to recruit for, and probably no surprise to everyone that the one I started with is the chief information officer. So critical to all of our business. The warehouse, the point of sale, cannabis. So the CIO position went out for recruitment, and we're partnering with Scott Emery on that. And we do have candidates that they're starting to look through. So that one's the first one that we got going. And then the second two that I plan to work on is the deputy director position and the distilled spirits director position. And so I actually think Laura Gomez is going to open those two next. And those are critical as well. The distilled spirits director, as we're moving into the next phase of planning the new warehouse and we have several IT projects on modernizing our whole system of getting the liquor, into the warehouse, out to the stores. So that'll be next on our list, and I will also do that competitively and openly. So it'll be an open competitive recruitment. I won't be doing any kind of direct direct appointment. And then the last one of kind of this first three is the deputy director position that is vacant. And what I talked to the executive team about on that is I asked the legislature to bump up the classification of the deputy director position. Right now, that was vacant that Will Higlin was in. And I'm going to look at a structure where I would have that position bumped up, and that position would be the deputy director for the whole agency with me, more aligning that position with me to give oversight of all of the staff. And so that was approved by the legislature. So those are kind of the three first order moves I'm doing as far as staffing. So I wanted to see too, it's a challenge to work on the airplane while it's flying. So I wanted to see if Rosie or Nathan or Colin wanted to comment on any of those things I mentioned.
I am good. Working with you, Director, and ensuring that we can continue to fly this plane.
Yeah, the only comment I would have is I just really appreciate the partnership that we had between financial services and HR and Craig, you and Rosie, because getting that the existing deputy director position reclassified in the budget for the next biennium, that was a really critical piece of timing, because it was something that it required a classification review by DAS, Chief Human Resource Office, in addition to our HR folks, and we had to do some budget components to figure out how we were going to internally finance that. And so we were able to get that done, and it was great to be able to see that come together just in time for the Legislative Fiscal Office to see that classification review be completed by the DAS Human Resource Office, be able to give up a half a position in financial services to help finance that change internally. We'll be able to manage that, and ultimately to have, to help Craig, you have the position authority that you need to move forward on the organizational vision and structure for the agency that you have. That's really pivotal as we head into this next biennium, which is only 45 days away.
Yeah.
Craig, can you give us a feel for the timeline on these?
Yeah, the CIO one, like I said, we have the first tranche of them. So I'm hoping, we always try to hit it within 60 days of opening it. And that was opened, Laura, I can't remember. So I'm hoping that we would have that one done before the end of the biennium. So July 1 is kind of, the start of the new biennium, as Colin said. So I'm hoping the CIO position we would have filled by then. And then the deputy director position and the distilled spirits positions, Laura's going to open those this week, I believe. So those would be probably trying to get those filled by, say, September 1 would be a goal. I hadn't thought, don't hold me to that, Dennis, but
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm hoping. And part of it is urgency. I think the executive team and then the management team has just been functioning with so many holes because of the personnel actions I had to take. And then because of, people retiring, people resigning. So I definitely have a sense of urgency, but I want to be realistic about how long an open, competitive recruitment will take. That's kind of what I'm hoping. Yeah, CIO July 1, and then trying to get the deputy director and the distilled spirits by 9/1 would be great.
Great, thanks.
Nathan?
Yeah, I was just going to add that I've really appreciated the stability, that Craig's brought. I think we're moving in the right direction, but I think morale is probably the biggest issue that we struggle with from executive team on down. So we're looking for things to stabilize even more, and I have every confidence that we'll get there by the fall.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of it, Matt, Nathan, maybe that part of you can speak into that morale, but you have those whenever you care about something like our staff care about this agency, you're either going to have moments of discouragement and despair because you care about it and it's not going the way you want it, or you're completely checked out, in my opinion. And then conversely, you have those times when you're really, you have the hopefulness, and I think that stability word is really what I've tried to bring in the first 3 months. Stabilize the budget, stabilize, take the personal actions that are necessary. And then I think, Nathan or Colin, people are just having to fill in, and we're shorthanded, and that really impacts morale. But I think, I think we're taking the actions we can take. So that's the balance. Yeah, I think it would be harder for morale if I just did a bunch of direct appointments and said, I'm going to do this. And I really want to make sure. And some of the comments from staff were that in the past, they felt that direct appointments had been overused by Steve and his in the previous era. So I'm trying to do it, balance those things. And hopefully that'll help, as we get a budget and we get our staffing reset, I think that'll help provide stability. Go ahead, Dennis.
Or Craig, are there other things that we can do to help the morale other than trying to stabilize and hire the people we need to? What do they have access to? This has got to be stressful for everybody down the line.
Yeah, good question. I think part of it, again, I invite the team to speak into this. Honestly, the rumor mill is probably one of the most divisive, and it's a killer. So people carry rumors forward that may or may not be true. And so that's one of the things I'm going to try to hit at a staffing meeting. So for all of us, when we're feeling out of control, and you might even have people speaking into your ear saying, you're going to fail, this isn't going to work, this whole system's going to topple. You tend to be more in tune to the rumor mill, and it, so I'm going to try to, that's one, Dennis, to not, if folks, I don't know, just be in tune to that and try to stop that rumor mill, because a lot of times it's not true anyways, and it kind of just perpetuates this feeling of I don't know, it's certainly not a sign, I don't know, just so the rumor mill is one thing, and I'm trying to figure out how to address that. So my thought would be, help me to kind of tamp down the rumors, and then just that confidence that part of what we're doing is we're reconnecting, I feel, this agency to the whole enterprise. In some ways, I think this agency was a little, what's the word? It was kind of isolated, and we're part of a bigger project in state government, and so really reaching out to DAS, to DOJ, making sure we're all communicating with the commission. Those are all things that I think are new patterns that we can, I think, will really help with morale.
Yeah, well, I think, Craig, one thing that I know, or my experience anyway, is that the rumor mill thrives when there's a lack of information coming in. And if there's a lack of information, they will create a story, and it's not going to be a good one. And so the more that we communicate with the employees would be one way to counteract the rumors. You give them information, otherwise they'll be forced to make up information.
I totally agree. And as you can imagine, it's a balance, because much of what people want to talk about is the personnel issues where I haven't taken a final action and I haven't even talked to that person. about which the rumors are circling.
Right.
So it's being respectful to and being professional in how we roll out information. But then, yeah, I think I've been trying to, we're doing all staff meetings on a normal cadence. Laura, I don't know, we're trying to do it, Laura, our cadence of that.
It's a quarterly meeting and we added actually 3 extra meetings in there, just to allow staff to ask questions and.
Yeah, so increased all staff meetings, increased communicating about the budget, and then trying to acknowledge there are things that I can't talk about with them and trying to hit those. So Matt, you have.
I think you kind of answered it with Dennis, but is there anything we can do that's helpful? I mean, should we have like a retreat or I don't know, just something that kind of, because it's been traumatic, I think, for everybody. But I mean, from my perspective, everybody I talk to, that matters on a high up level, they know this agency's here to stay, whatever it looks like, and you're doing a great job. And I think
Thank you.
Maybe I don't know. I mean, yeah, we would do some sort of. And maybe it doesn't have to be. I don't know. Yeah, it's just something to maybe put in
Yeah.
your ear.
Yeah, we were thinking about, just having a barbecue at OLC's, at the headquarters and flipping some burgers and just getting everyone there can be incredibly healing. Making sure that we're communicating, hey, Colin and Rosie have done a great job the budget is on track. The headquarters move is on track. The warehouse move is on track. We have the budget authority for that. So I think, yeah, I think like a retreat or just, a picnic, and making sure that we can get there, I think are all good ways to kind of provide that support. It's great.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe end of summer or something like that.
Mhm,
Just
mhm.
we just pull everybody together. Yeah, it's been tough, but I think we're here to last. So good deal. That's my only thought.
And as you know, I have pending litigation about some of the dismissals that I've talked about, and so I really have not commented on those because there's pending litigation, and I'd like to I think I've made public what I think is appropriate, and then made an announcement last week that Danica Foster is back and is back in licensing. So that'll help take some of the pressure off. So as I have information that I can share with a pending criminal investigation, pending litigation on some of the actions I've taken, I'm absolutely, it's very much a high priority to push that information out and to do it in a way that's professional. I'm not going to be doing it with email all. I just don't think that's appropriate, but certainly we're talking to the people that are most directly impacted by some of these things and keeping them in the loop as soon as we can. So that's kind of, and then the other staffing I wanted to do is, Colin, maybe you could hit the budget note that we're going to be doing to talk about staffing. And then also, we are looking at some vacant positions being eliminated, and that's going to that can be a difficult thing because I think in the past, some of our staffing was paid for by those vacant positions. So Colin, maybe you can speak a little bit to that and we can close out this part on staffing.
Sure, absolutely. And so the budget note that Director Prince was just referring to is in our conversations with the Legislative Fiscal Office as we were moving forward to have our main budget bill moved out of the Ways and Means Subcommittee a week ago today, and then moved out of full Ways and Means last Friday. So definitely a positive week last week for the agency from that aspect. One of the things that Legislative Fiscal Office was looking at is with that reclassification of the deputy director position to a higher salary range and really move to a one deputy director model for the agency, going with Craig's vision for where we're going. What they were also saying is, as part of Legislative Fiscal Office being comfortable with that and the Ways and Means Subcommittee being comfortable with that, they were asking that the agency go through and do a review of the executive team classifications that we have and director, division director positions that we have, and as really a way to come alongside and help support that, and then of course show that the legislature is asking the agency and through a budget note just formally putting it out there that we go through and do a review not just of the deputy director but really all of those positions. And so that's something that we're, in all reality, I think it will be good for us, because I think coming out of everything the agency has been walking through since February, it'll just, there are questions out there. And so being able to go through that work and that communication point of going to the agency and saying, we're not just doing this because it's a good idea, we're also doing this because we're required to do this. I think it just helps to shore up that we're being as transparent as we can and going through and doing a review of the executive team org structure and the division director structure and classification level.
And for those of you, a budget note is simply kind of what it sounds like. It's a direction within our budget, a narrative direction of, we want you to do this and come back and report to us. So we've been directed to do that. Colin, I forget the timing of it, but we'll be looking at this organizational structure and reporting it to the legislative, to the Ways and Means Committee. And certainly we will keep you guys in the loop on that. Colin, I forget the timing of that one.
Yeah, I'll double check it, but it was, when I was looking at it and working with Legislative Fiscal Office, we were trying to have the timing be such that that review was completed in advance of when we would be submitting our agency request budget.
That's right. Yeah.
And for the, sounds kind of crazy to say, but the 2025-27 biennium. And so what that really means is we'll be submitting that new agency request budget about a year from now. And so this is work that we'll be looking to complete within the next 12 months.
Yeah. And so, so just providing stability, providing hope that we're moving forward, and not, like Dennis said, it's natural. It's natural to try to make sense of things. So we try to communicate what we know and move forward. But I love the idea of a simple get together this summer. Sounds really welcome. Thank you. Oh, and I wanted to acknowledge too that Commissioner Porter joined us. Hello, Commissioner Porter. For the record, just want to make sure everyone saw that she's on.
Okay, next.
So I think we have our meeting, Thursday, but I know Rosie had a legislative update that we wanted to do. Rosie, maybe you can update the lab bill, the home delivery bill, and the settlement bill. And then I really thought we should highlight Senate Bill 1095 for the commissioners.
Yes. So we're starting off the week. I think there's been a lot of questions around where we are with respect to the Senate Republicans walking and when we'll have another Senate floor meeting. I think the impact is really on the Senate floor where bills are not being voted on. But for the most part, the committees are meeting. And bills are being voted on and being sent to the House floor and sort of reserved for the Senate floor. But for the most part, it was a great week last week for us with respect to legislation. As Director Prince mentioned, our 4 main bills are House Bill 2931, which is our reference lab bill. That bill was voted out of committee last Friday and will be sent to the House floor for a vote. The other bill is Senate Bill, looking at my list of bills here and to go in order, is 2013. And of course that I keep referring to that as a lawsuit bill, but really it's about, ensuring that we're having, meeting our legal requirements to expand delivery service from other state on brewery and cider directly to consumer. And that bill, both those bills pretty much got unanimous votes out of the committee. And they are on their way to the floor for a vote. House Bill 3308 was in the Rules Committee, Senate Rules. That was voted out of Senate Rules and sent to Ways and Means. That bill is delivery of alcohol to the door. And that bill was prioritized by the governor and also in our budget. So they're funding to help implement that bill. And that will be in Ways and Means Committee and probably coming up for a hearing as well. House Bill 3049, I think we haven't heard too much about that one because it's really part of the task force bill as well, but also being advanced by the governor. That is in Ways and Means and will likely get a hearing. There's nothing controversial about the bill, but was part of the overall consumer protection bill when it came to the illicit marijuana grows in Southern Oregon. And that will be up as well, probably, if not this Friday, probably by next Friday. Again, we're simply just sort of sitting and waiting. I think the uncertainty with what's going on in Salem right now creates a little bit of an unknown, but nevertheless, the idea is that folks will be coming back because there's some critical bills to be voted on. So that's the hope, but we don't have much yet. And there are a number of other bills out there and marijuana bills that are up for consideration. Additional bills, Senate Bill 1095, as Director Prince mentioned, that was also voted out of the Senate Rules Committee. It is on its way to the floor. That will expand the commission by 2 members. 1 additional member representing a congressional district and the other member representing the public at large. So that will be on the floor for a vote as well. On
And
the
that
Senate
one,
floor.
Rosie, I just want to, on that one, I was contacted by the executive appointments staff in the governor's office, and if Rosie's shared that bill with you, it impacts about 12 boards like yourselves. I think, Rosie, I'm thinking the number 12, but all of them where it's referenced to membership is referencing members from congressional districts. And so we're going to watch that one closely. I think that one is, I think we're hearing that that one is very likely to pass. And then, you know, we have, would be the chair and you all working with the governor's executive appointments, but would be welcoming 2 additional seats. And then, of course, we have 1 vacant seat. So that's one that's moving too.
Rosie, can I ask you, what was 3049 referring to, the House bill?
So that one is registration of hemp products.
Okay.
Some of the hemp products might contain cannabinoids, and so if they're registered through OLCC, we can go ahead and do some testing and making sure that there's not intoxicating substances, but just products that are going to be consumed by not topical, but rather consumed by humans and animals, for example.
Right. Thank you.
Sure.
The only other one I was gonna hit is there also is House Bill 2515, which is one of the cannabis related bills, and one of the cannabis associations, CHAO, CIAO, did a presser that they were looking at using that one to really push toward tax compliance in the retail marijuana licensees. We're looking at that issue with DOR, and we're looking at that bill. And so we met with them. The different concepts in that bill would be at renewal of a license, you know, DOR could issue a certificate of compliance. That means that the licensee is working and has a payment plan with DOR, so that could be part of a requirement of the OLCC to renew the license. There's also a piece of that speaks to setting the number of licenses based upon population. And so some of these important issues are coming to a head right when we're kind of like, hey, who's going to be there to see these on the floor of the House and the Senate? So those are a couple of the issues I wanted to hit. Commissioner Miletus?
Yeah, no, and I'm, if it's helpful for, I think, any of the commissioners to go down and pitch in, I'm happy to. The past, I've tried to kind of let the legislature do their thing, and then we kind of, we're left with the regulation of it to a certain degree. But I do think, I mean, there's so much complexity with the way that the taxes work and the licensing, and there's been comparisons to other states and things like that. It would, even if it's not put into law, I do encourage everybody to, keep working with DOR, and maybe there's clarity for the commissioners, because to my understanding, we've always been pretty diligent in working with revenue to make sure that we're abiding by what they need. If it's put into law, that's great. If it's not put into law, I think it probably puts it on the agency to really be mindful too. So either way.
You got it, Matt. I think that's a great one. And this, again, talk about jumping into something that I'm learning so fast about cannabis, distilled spirits, and now the Department of Revenue and the way revenue works. But basically, that this is something that I really, if anything, I feel like we're improving that partnership with DOR. Nathan's team, Amanda Borup's been phenomenal. We're reaching out to DOJ to ask questions. So yeah, I think those are the pieces that are in play. The alcohol delivery bill I want to come back to, just because I worked a lot on that one in March. That's really significant. We wanted to get regulations on this delivery to the final consumer, and because that has been, there has been alcohol delivery after COVID. So really significant policy area that I wanted to hit back to. And then my last legislative thing, to see if anyone has any questions, I don't want to miss, during our budget presentation, I wanted to let you know, it's always good when you have bipartisan support for an agency, and couldn't have been more pleased with Representative Greg Smith making a comment that he wants to move forward with this agency, give us the resources we need. And so coming from a Republican from Eastern Oregon, it was just really welcome to have that support and the resources, again, with the lab, with resources to regulate delivery to the door. Paul Evans made a similar statement of support. And Kevin Mannix actually offered to carry our budget on the floor of the House. So when you have bipartisan support for an agency's budget, especially one that's been through the crisis that we've had, boy, that's just, that's really welcome. And I didn't want to miss the opportunity to highlight that bipartisanship.
And Craig, just one more note here, because I've, in looking at 2515 online, it's a marijuana bill. It's really a gut and stuff at this point, correct?
Yeah,
So
correct.
if you go online and you see the bill on OLS, it's not what it looks like now. There is amendment out there that will become public later on.
Yeah, perfect. So,
But I
Sure.
think that's, for the most part, with regards to the legislation, that's the update that we have. As I said, there's plenty more bills out there, plenty more bills that we're tracking. For example, Senate Bill 326, I believe our members from the task force, Rob Bovat, for example, is working with Floyd Krasonsky on the law enforcement bill and looking at whether it's environmental and other consumer protection around illicit cannabis in the state, not just in Southern Oregon, I should say. There's that bill out there as well. It got it was already on the Senate floor, so it's over in the House now, and they're working it there. But there are a number of bills as well that will impact the agency in a positive way, and came from the task force. Back on the House Bill 3000 and Senate Bill 1564. So just wanted, but there are other bills that we can talk about, but that will be for a later date. Just want to focus on our priority, agency priority bills.
The big ones. And so
Yeah.
last week was a good legislative week. So Chair Reval, I'd like to hand it to Colin. I think we hit the budget a little bit, but just to, he has a visual, we can look at just the budget update, and then we can.
Before we do, one
maybe-
last thing as it relates to DR.
Mhm.
I think it's important for everyone that, as you're talking to our stakeholders, is that the DR issue is going to involve everyone in the marijuana industry. So it's not just retail. We're going to start with retail, but everyone else is going to be included in that. It is called being in business. And when you're in business, you pay your taxes. So it doesn't just fit. We're not just talking about retail. I know that's going to be the first 700 that DR is going to work with, but this is going to trickle down or cascade down, whichever you want to prefer, to everyone in the industry. So don't be surprised and say, oh, why are you going to make me do this? Because it's called being in business, guys.
Yeah.
So Colin, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Colin, can you show the commissioners that one pager kind of up, just a broad view of the budget, and we could probably see if there's any questions. I think we hit a lot of this, but see if we can end with this. Go ahead, Colin.
And so, make sure I'm on mute. Okay, so you should be able to see, and let me know if you can't, this one-page summary that shows our main budget bill, which has been Senate Bill 5519. At the bottom, you'll also note that I included House Bill 2931, and that is because our policy option package, which is the third one from the bottom, number 418, that was the transfer of $2.3 million to provide the money to purchase the equipment and pay for the staff that Oregon Department of Agriculture is going to be doing to set up the state lab. What we had there is going along with the policy option package that was recommended in the governor's budget. There was also a policy bill, and that was House Bill 2931, that was moving through this session related to that particular POP that we had, or policy option package, as the term POP stands for. And that was voted out of the subcommittee a week ago as well, and was also approved by full Ways and Means to move forward to floor votes at the end of last week. And so what this one-page summary highlights is, and I refer to this as our main budget bill because we have other things that are still moving through the session, such as home delivery in House Bill 3308, which, if ultimately approved, will be added to the information you're seeing here. And we're also anticipating the continuation of our IT modernization capital project to be addressed in the end of session bill. And we're expecting that to be done later on because of our three capital projects. And again, those of course are, one is purchasing the land and building the warehouse and the new office. That was one. There was the conveyor to go into the new warehouse. That was the second. And then the third, of course, was our IT modernization capital project. Those first two items, the purchasing of the land and building the warehouse and office, and also the conveyor, when those were approved in this current biennium, we were giving 6-year spending authority for those. But our IT modernization capital project, because it was an IT project due to some technical budget issues, it was only giving 2-year spending authority. So to continue into the next biennium, starting July 1st, we had put forward a policy option package to continue that spending authority going into the next biennium. So that's all that is. It was intended to be addressed as a capital project outside of our main budget bill. But because we see our warehouse equipment costs and some non-bonded IT modernization costs included in what you see here in policy option package 102, kind of the third or fourth item down in this table, because that was included, that obviously shows the support that we have to move forward on all of our warehouse related items, including the continuation of that IT spending authority that we have for our modernization. And so really what you see here is starting with a base budget of about 341.7 million and 384 positions. Going through mostly the items for our warehouse are the first two items. And then we have really marijuana funded policy option packages that you see here, starting with replacing 12 vehicles in policy option package 305, a cannabis communication outreach, getting one position added to the agency to help with records requests, specifically marijuana records requests. And then of course we have positions working for marijuana lab integrity with the private labs, our revenue transfer agreement with Oregon Department of Agriculture, and then the items we've already talked about, which is are the position reclassifications, and then the 12 vacant positions that are being abolished. And of those 12 vacant positions, 7 were in public safety, 5 were in administrative services, and that brings us down to the bottom line total that you see there of almost $367 million in other funds spending authority and 376 positions that are currently built into the agency budget. And again, if House Bill 3308 ends up getting approved, that will increase that, as well as other items such as the IT capital project that are out there. So this is sort of a point in time of where we're at. As of last week, we are expecting other things to happen, but this captures the majority of what our budget will be looking like in the next biennium, assuming it continues to move through the floor votes and ultimately have Governor Kotek's approval, which at this point is what we're assuming. And of course, happy to answer any questions that Chair Raval, you or the commissioners have, or Craig, that you might have about this as well. All right.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So Chair Raval, I think I'm going to end it from my perspective on, where we started is how do we keep staff morale? How do we keep this thing moving as we show the legislature supporting us, building the warehouse, modernizing our system, getting these conveyor belts in. We're on track. I'm looking at the project milestones, and I know Jeff Samuels will give an update at our full meeting, but March 2024 is when we hope to be breaking ground for a 16-month building project that will culminate at the end of the biennium, right around the end, July 2025. And that's when we'll be able to make this big migration of moving to the new warehouse. I think that's the most important thing to keep perspective of, is we're on track for that. And that's why that bipartisan support was so important that we got this week on this budget. So I'll leave it with that.
I think it's important. That's a good point you make about breaking ground. Our international stakeholders that will be meeting in NABCA has point blank asked about where we're going to break ground. 2024 is much more preferable than 2025 because it helps them set the direction as to what they need to do and how they can move forward from their profit standpoint. So it's important that when we're there, Matt and Dennis, that anyone's asking, we know that groundbreaking is March 2024. That's our mantra. We have their backing and their support, but that's a question they've asked repeatedly in some of our conversations that I've had with them.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Commissioners. Chair, with that, I think.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Porter,
everyone.
Commissioner Floyd, thank
Thursday.
you.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Happy
you.
Monday.